Dear guests, and we are starting our next panel session. So please have a seat. Please grab some translation equipment if needed. It's on your right, on my left. And now it's my great honor to introduce next panel session. It's Empowering Ukraine's Regional Development Through Investment and Innovation. And I'll introduce you our moderator, Roman Kachur. He's a representative of Ukraine at the World Bank Board of Directors. And Roman, you'll lead from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruslan, and thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ruslan, and thank you to Ukraine House, Ambassador Markarova, for hosting us here today. I'm Roman Kachur. I represent Ukraine at the World Bank Board of Directors, and in my previous capacity, I served in the government, but also in the city of Kyiv government, and that's probably the reason why I was invited here to be here. So I'm glad to introduce our distinguished panelists who have made this career and significant experience in the municipal development. And let me first introduce Tom Cochran, who is sitting to most far right from me. Tom is the CEO of the United States Conference of Mayors, an organization that represents 1,400 U.S. cities with a population of more than 30,000 citizens. He has served the organization for the past 55 years as an advocate for mayors and cities with Congress and the White House. He was instrumental in leading his members to take a strong official stance supporting Ukraine since very early days of Russian invasion. Throughout this war, he and his organization continues today as a strong advocate for Ukraine. Next to Tom, we have Dr. Ricki Garrett. She's the president and CEO of the Sister Cities International in Washington, D.C. She has also served as Alderwoman at Large and Mayor pro tempore at Clinton, Mississippi since 2017. She also currently serves as a board member of Mississippi Municipal League and is on the board of Mississippi Council of Economic Education. From 2004 2011, Ricki served as executive director of the Mississippi Nurses Association, and during her tenure, the association became one of the leading organizations in the country through its advocacy efforts, educational offerings, and collaborations with other organizations statewide and nationwide. Ricki served numerous other leadership roles and has recognized as one of the top 50 leading businesswomen by Mississippi Business Journal and was named a Woman of the Year by the Mississippi University for Women. Next to Ricki, we have Stephen Bosacker, who is a Senior Vice President of Innovation and directs German Marshall Fund Cities for the United States. He has a deep background in local and state governance. He served as a city manager in Minneapolis and chief of staff Governor Ventura and a public sector innovation leader at Living Cities at the German Marshall Fund. Stephen works with cities across Europe and North America, including a variety of activities in Ukraine through the Whistle Stops for Ukraine project and the new effort to bring a broad cross-sector coalition of support of the design and rebuilding efforts to one to three smaller Ukrainian cities through the Ukraine Cities Partnership. Next to me, we have Natalia Kravchenko. Natalia is a project director at the Ukraine NGO called Ukrainian Development Foundation. In this capacity, Natalia leads a development of digital program, InvestMonitor, which represents the investment environment of Ukraine through data, indices, and visualization. Her work focuses on data-driven tools for economic transparency and regional empowerment through digital platforms and open data, helping to bridge the gap between stakeholders' needs and decision-making. In her various capacities in the past, Natalia worked to develop other digital platforms for Ukraine's extractive industry and public finance. And last, online, we have one of the key people in the Ukrainian government for the development, for reconstruction and recovery, Serhii Sukhomlyn. He is chairman of the State Agency for Restoration and Infrastructure Development of Ukraine. The Agency for Restoration deepens cooperation with international partners to enable swift and effective project implementation. This agency is the main government body to deliver on recovery needs, which are estimated more than 500 billion, according to the World Bank recent damage and needs report. And Serhii, in his previous capacity, served as a mayor of Ukrainian city Zhytomyr for 9 years, so he has vast experience, hands-on experience how the cities operate. In the beginning, I will invite Serhii Sukhomlyn to deliver his remarks, since he is connected online and he has other commitments that he will need to follow, and then we will follow up with a discussion with our panelists and round of questions. So, Serhii, welcoming you to the floor, can you share with us your cooperation with international organizations to support Ukraine recovery and some priorities that you focus on right now, rebuilding Ukrainian cities? What are the major challenges you are facing in your work? Serhii, welcome you to the stage.
Добрий день, Роман. Я хочу подякувати за можливість сьогодні показати процес відбудови України, трошки розказати про плани і просто подякувати американському народу за підтримку України і за підтримку, в тому числі, українських громад. Я, як екс-мер міста Житомир, був просто безмежно вдячний американському фонду, який під час війни побудував в місті Житомирі чудовий реабілітаційний центр для дітей. І під час війни це було актом таким підтримки з боку американського народу українських громад. Але сьогодні інша посада і трошки про агентство. Наступний слайд, будь ласка. Якісь у нас технічні проблеми. Тоді я почну. Агентство на сьогодні проходить процес трансформації, і сьогодні в агентстві є декілька складових. Це група управління проектами, і ідея в тому, щоб створити в одному місці, концентрувати компетенції і можливості для більш ефективного і швидкого процесу відновлення зруйнованих об'єктів. Центральна закупівельна організація 1 квітня 2025 року рішенням уряду була створена Центральна закупівельна організація при агентстві, і це єдиний в Україні орган, який буде проводити закупівлі по проєктам відбудови України не тільки по товарам, а й послугам і по роботам. Унікальність цієї закупівельної організації складається ще в тому, що ми зможемо проводити рамкові закупівлі, які проводять міжнародні фінансові установи, банки. І це дає можливість, в тому числі міжнародному бізнесу, приймати активну участь в відновленні України. На сьогодні в Україні є ефективна система закупівель, але концентрація закупівель в одному місті для більш прозорої і ефективної реалізації проєктів – це те, що пришвидшить і зробить процес відбудови України більш ефективним і прозорим. Наступний слайд, будь ласка. У нас нема слайдів. Добре, тоді я буду рухатися. Будівництво доріг і реконструкція дорожньої інфраструктури. На сьогодні всі наші зусилля зосереджені на забезпечення військової логістики для прифронтових регіонів, і це задача номер один. Ми розуміємо, що сьогодні в умовах війни бюджет України достатньо обмежений, і ті кошти, які виділяються для ремонту доріг, будівництва нових, фактично ми сконцентрували на сході і півдні України для забезпечення військової і медичної логістики. Але завдяки нашим партнерам, це Європейський інвестиційний банк, Європейський банк реконструкції і розвитку, Світовий банк, ми маємо і проекти, які дозволяють утримувати діючу дорожню інфраструктуру. Але ми також складаємо плани, і на сьогодні за допомогою наших партнерів відпрацьовуємо по стратегії розвитку дорожньої інфраструктури великі інфраструктурні проекти, які стануть можливими після припинення військових дій. Скажу, що загальна сума тих проєктів, які порахована по дорожній інфраструктурі, на сьогодні складає приблизно 39 мільярдів доларів. Наступний слайд, якщо можна. Наступне – це децентралізована генерація і забезпечення тепловою енергією українських міст. На сьогодні ми відпрацьовуємо пілотний проєкт по будівництву 6 теплоелектростанцій в українських громадах для отримання електроенергії і теплової енергії для забезпечення громад теплом і електроенергією. На сьогодні у нас 6 міст в цьому пілотному проєкті, і скажу, що потреба в таких теплових електростанціях на сьогодні в Україні оцінюється в десятки станцій. Для прикладу, буквально позавчора був підписаний меморандум по будівництву першої станції завдяки нашій роботі спільної з Міністерством розвитку громад в місті Одеса. Підписант корейська компанія «Поска», яка має великий досвід в реалізації аналогічних проєктів. Не менш актуальна проблема – це будівництво житла. На сьогодні агентство разом з Міністерством розвитку громад розробило проєкт будівництва соціального муніципального житла в українських громадах. На першому етапі це 6,5 тисяч квартир для того, щоб відпрацювати механізм і показати ефективність і необхідність цього проєкту. Друга стадія проєкту – це 50 тисяч квартир. Але це дуже маленькі цифри. Скажу, що тільки по оцінкам Запорізька область потребує будівництва чи реконструкції приблизно 40 тисяч квартир. І тут величезні можливості для, в тому числі, американського бізнесу по будівництву заводів, які можуть виробляти префаби для більш швидкого, економного і ефективного впровадження саме таких проєктів. До речі, вдячні американському фонду Хансена, Долоя Хансена, який вже сьогодні побудував тисячі квадратних метрів житла для тих людей, які втратили житло. Це переважно Київська область, але на сьогодні плани цього американського фонду набагато більші, і приблизно 20 громад ведуть перемовини для будівництва такого житла. Наступний великий напрямок стратегічний для роботи агентства – це будівництво водогонів і забезпечення українських громад водою. Скажу, що в цьому році ми почали і в цьому році закінчимо будівництво водогону для забезпечення міста Миколаєва питною водою. Терміни будівництва складають фактично 6 місяців, роботи йдуть цілодобово. І вже в серпні місяці місто Миколаїв, яке 3 роки не мало води, майже 3 роки, воно цю воду отримує. Також в планах на цей рік будівництво ще 4 водогонів для забезпечення великої кількості українських громад якісним постачанням води. На сьогодні ми оцінюємо сектор води, інвестиції в сектор води в Україні не менше, ніж в 10 мільярдів доларів. Паралельно ми допомагаємо громадам розробляти і впроваджувати проєкт проекти по енергоефективності. 410 громад на сьогодні з агентством співпрацюють по проектам заміні на світлодіодне освітлення і вже розроблені при фізібіліті стадії. На сьогодні 75 українських міст, їх підприємства, які забезпечують ці міста водою, водоканали. Це приблизно 17 мільйонів населення України. Розроблені вже фізібіліті стадії проекти по встановленню сонячної генерації на цих об'єктах. І це приблизно 145 МВт сонячної генерації, яка в цьому році вже почнеться встановлення цих електростанцій на підприємствах водоканалах. Це тільки декілька напрямків пріоритетних. У нас багато ще інших. Це і захист енергетичних об'єктів. Я тут хочу подякувати уряду Сполучених Штатів за підтримку по реалізації цих об'єктів. Ми всі бачимо, наскільки Росія намагається знищити українську генерацію, українські розподільчі мережі. Кажу, що по об'єктам, які будувало агентство в минулому році, було нанесено за минулий рік 64 ракетних удари і удари дронами, і всі об'єкти захисту витримали ці удари і не допустили відключення трансформаторних підстанцій. Тому прошу звертатися до агентства, ми завжди готові до діалогу, відкривати, готові показувати, співпрацювати з фондами, з компаніями американськими індивідуально, показувати можливості. І хочу ще раз подякувати вам за підтримку українського народу ці 3 роки. І сказати, що всі ці інвестиції будуть захищені, коли в Україні буде мир і коли Україна отримає гарантії безпеки. І хочу подякувати за цю підтримку і політичну, і моральну підтримку, і підтримку зброєю. І, чесно кажучи, в мене на це є право, бо мій син вже 3 роки в Збройних силах України, сьогодні він на Сході, і захищає Україну саме завдяки американській зброї. Дякую вам.
Дякую, Serhii. Thank you, Serhii. I think for your personal dedication, but also what you mentioned about your son, your family commitment to support Ukraine. I think priorities which were outlined are very clear. It's infrastructure, especially transport infrastructure, energy sector, housing and utilities, particularly water supply. But I believe despite all the efforts that state is trying to support the municipalities, the needs are hugely overwhelming, and we need to turn to the regional cooperation and private sector cooperation. And here we have the people who are probably one of the best experts on promoting the regional cooperation. And I would like to turn first to Tom, who is not only expert, but he is a person serving at the Conference of Mayors for more than 50 years. I don't think...
I started at the age of 12.
So I don't think anyone on this panel or in this room understands better than Tom how cities can cooperate and what does it mean to respond to challenges that emerge, how we can use this bilateral city cooperation to promote economic development and address the city's needs. So Tom, over to you. Tell us some of these examples.
I'm trying to stay out of the international thing in this discussion, but our organization, the United States Conference of Mayors, came about during the Great Depression when the mayors decided that, you know, we've got to go talk to the president, and they talked to President Roosevelt, and we formed our organization and came to Washington, D.C. in 1933. And as people that know the history of the United States understand what it took for us to come out of the Depression. And then, you know, we had World War II, and following that, General Eisenhower came up with this idea of an interstate highway system because he felt like that if we had trains and railways, that maybe the Russians would bomb us. And so we said we'd rather die on an interstate highway system, right? So we have the interstate highway system, and the mayors were very influential in the nation to do that. And through the years, the infrastructure issue has always been a need. During the previous Trump administration, we had infrastructure week every week, and nothing happened. And we were very pleased with the Congress and the former President Biden to have the infrastructure law passed with $1.2 trillion. And right now we're in the struggle for that to continue. Now you need to understand that we have in the United States 50 states. And a lot of the money, the federal, we send the money to Washington, but sometimes it doesn't get back to the cities. And so we have to struggle against state governments who sometimes love their rural areas but do not really care that much about our cities. I mean, in the 70s, New York City was going bankrupt and nobody cared until we worked hard to make sure that New York City was saved. That would not happen. If Paris were in trouble, France would come. You know what I'm saying? So internally, the whole question of economic development, we've had to rely a lot on the private sector, and we don't do anything without the private sector. And so we have in our organizations 130 businesses on our business council, and we worked hand in hand with them as we go forward. I could get into some of the things we've done. We've done exchange programs in Japan. We've done exchange programs in Germany. There are organizations like ours around the nation, and many times we'll take 10 mayors to Germany, sit down with 10 mayors from America, and we're discussing housing. Housing right now in America is a big issue. The question of housing. If you go down the line and ask every mayor, what is the number one issue? It's housing right now. Not just homelessness, but housing. Housing for my grandkids, and housing for veterans, and housing for for police officers, for nurses, people that work in our city but cannot afford to work in our city. And so that's a big issue we have right now. We are in right now a transition with the second Trump administration. And so we are facing a budget situation within 3 weeks it's going to be a great struggle and a great fight for us. And so I'm bringing to Washington mayors from every state we can find to protest any kind of budget cuts that have been on the books since President Johnson, all the way through President Nixon with CDBG, the EPA, et cetera, et cetera. All of those programs right now in America, there's a war on children with this administration. So we're in a struggle right now. We felt very good as to where we were, but we're in a struggle. Now remember this also, most of the money that's spent at the local level goes to water and police. The mayor of New York has the 7th largest army in the world. In other words, the police function is not at the state, not at the county, and so this is very important. Wellington Webb, the former mayor of Denver, said to the German parliament when he addressed them, if you don't have a safe city, you don't have a city. And so we're very pleased with the crime that's going down in our cities. Very discouraged yesterday when the administration announced that grants for against violence and the guns is going to be evaporated. So at the time when we're bringing crime down, we're not getting the kind of resources that we need from our own federal government. So I don't want to sound pessimistic. I'm always optimistic. I think this too shall pass, and we're going to be an advocate for cities all the way through all sizes, and I know we will be there, but we are in a transition right now, and I just have to be very honest and say that I think that there's a time that will come when the mayor, and let me just say this, we are a bipartisan organization. We leave our guns at the door. And so when we speak, it's bipartisan. We have Republican mayors. I'm going to make just a quick mention on the tariffs. The tariff situation has really disturbed our neighbors in Canada and Mexico. And 2 weeks ago, I had a summit here in Washington with 10 mayors from Mexico, 10 mayors from Canada, and 10 mayors from America. And so we were very instrumental in helping Senator Keynes pass a resolution against the president on what he's doing with the tariff. But the tariff situation is really, these things come up. I mean, I never know what I'm going to do when I get to work every day. You don't know what's going to happen. And 3 weeks ago, I didn't know what a tariff was. But by God, I know now. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I'll be glad to come back. I do want to talk about Ukraine, and I was very disheartened this morning when I read the news that 70 ballistic missiles has hit the great capital city. So I'll come back in the second round and talk about that. But we are a mayor's organization, and we're very pleased with our next meeting will be in Tampa, Florida in June. And I had a conference call today, and we continue to, thank God for Zooms, we continue to communicate with each other and be strong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. I think whatever you do it right, because you are there for 50 years.
We try.
But very interesting observations, what you mentioned, how you promote this bilateral cooperation between the cities. Regardless the problem you may have, you bring people to the table across different sides of the aisle. In political sense, you bring them across the border from Canada and from Mexico, and you facilitate this discussion to find the solution.
There's not a partisan way to fill a pothole. There's not a partisan way. A pothole is there. It's got to be filled. Mayors get things done. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in Washington, but our cities continue.
Very, very well said. Let me now turn to Stephen, and you have worked as a city manager and also advised cities around the world. So what do you think, why this relationship between cities are important, and how cities can leverage these relationships?
Thank you, Roman. It's intimidating to be up here on a stage with Tom and Ricki, both who are so experienced, but I have all kinds of thoughts about cities and development activities. I'm just going to raise 2. Panels will do that to you. You have to suddenly summarize kind of what's happened over the last 20 years. My 20 years of experience in and with cities pales in comparison here. My first one is that fundamentally I believe cities are builders. Tom just mentioned about how action-oriented cities are. And I have learned over these years that that's not a choice, that's really by necessity. Cities aren't able to talk about community problems for years without doing anything. When I think about the U.S. Congress and immigration reform, it's been about 40 years, and there has been really very little movement. That's not the case in a city, and this is relevant to how they think about economic and development. Residents expect good services and problem solving, and they want to live in great communities that are safe as a precursor. Businesses and investors want the very same thing. They want good education, they want a dependable workforce, they want good community amenities. And in the last 2 decades, the people that make cities work, the businesses, residents, all the other stakeholders and players, they are more mobile. And so, therefore, they can choose other places and other cities. And for that reason, cities need to compete. And they do compete, and they should. They compete for people, for visitors, for investment. But I've also found that the stakeholders in cities are great at cooperating. Overall, I've termed this coopetition. I think that cities and local stakeholders and businesses know when they need to compete, and they know when they need to cooperate. And I think that these universal qualities are what makes cities good learners from each other, and how they find opportunities together, how 10 mayors from the US sit with 10 mayors in Germany and both know that they are in competition, but they also want to cooperate and get good ideas. And maybe that's finally, and this applies to the innovation part of things, cities are quick to pick up another city's innovations and make them their own. So they're also good plagiarizers. And I think that's a very positive thing. They're not afraid to take someone's great idea and say it was theirs, and that's what it needs to be. So the second thing besides being builders is that they're busy. And, 15 years ago when I was the city manager of Minneapolis, my days blurred to my nights, and they were 7 days a week. And a lot to manage with a growing list of problems. The fact that cities can be functional, in fact, are putting new tasks on their lists. Climate change issues, migration, and the movement of people in general, migrants and refugees into their cities, feeling the competitive pressures of economic development. And they're doing this often with limited resources, and often they're getting tighter, those resources. And that's what's happening right now in the United States. That combination of things can make cities insular. They can feel as though their problems are unique to their situation and to their community, and that's just simply not so. There's also a universality to the problems that cities share. And some of the best ideas and innovations to grow or build a city come from outside their own boundaries, outside their state, outside their country, and international examples abound. So my second point is that to find solutions to problems, to continue to be vibrant and to be relevant, cities need to think and act internationally. There are really great examples of this. I've got one here from Alexandria, Virginia, but I'm going to stop there and let those 2 points just kind of sit for a bit.
Thank you, Stephen. Indeed, from what we are hearing from both panelists, these problems are universal, like housing, security, and new emerging problems, which seem to be a statewide problem, migration, but they are very, very relevant to the city. And we're hearing more about, from both of you, about the importance of interaction and cooperation, both within the country, but also with the cities abroad that can bring those solutions. And I would like to turn now to Ricki, because she has some amazing experience how to turn the cultural and educational cooperation between cities into economic development, which may not sound so obvious. So, Ricki, over to you. Please share some insights from your organization.
Thank you very much. And I'll begin by telling you that I came to Washington, D.C. 2 years ago to be the president and CEO of Sister Cities International. And my very first event here in D.C. was here at Ukraine House. So I feel like I have come full circle, and it's very nice to be here again exactly 2 years later. For those of you who don't know a lot about Sister Cities International, we were founded by President Dwight D. Eisenhower, quite an entrepreneur, who of course had served as a wartime general during World War II. And he believed that the only way to have lasting peace in the world was through citizen diplomacy. And so for almost 70 years, Sister Cities International has been trying to bring peace to the world through partnerships between cities in the U.S. and cities in other countries. And currently, there are 411 cities who are members of Sister Cities International. And those 411 cities have thousands of partnerships around the world in 140 countries. And that work continues every day. And historically, The work that Sister Cities did, for the most part, was work in the areas of student exchanges, whether that was at the high school level or the university level, or it was in the realm of cultural exchanges, such as the Bubble Tea Festival that happens every year in Rockville, Maryland, and brings 10,000 people to Rockville, or the International Folk Art Festival that happens every summer in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Mostly the work that Sister Cities International did was either on a humanitarian level or educational or cultural. But more and more Sister Cities International is doing work in building economic development projects between the cities in the U.S. and cities in other countries. And I'd like to spend just a minute telling you about a couple of those projects that have come out of these sister city partnerships, because I think they're very applicable to other cities around the country. The first is Hot Springs, Arkansas. Hot Springs has had a very long sister city partnership with Hanamaki, Japan. And you may not know this, but both Arkansas and Japan are big rice producers. And of course, rice is an important part of the making of sake. And so because of the long-standing sister city partnership between Hot Springs and their Japanese sister city, a company in Japan decided that rather than have Arkansas ship rice to them for the making of sake, that they would build a sake distillery in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And that sake distillery is now the largest sake distillery in the United States, all because of a sister city partnership. And another city that for many, many years has been focused on building economic development projects is San Antonio, Texas. And their sister city program is actually housed in their global engagement office, which is part of their economic development office in the city of San Antonio. And they actually began their economic development efforts by collaborating with their sister cities in Mexico. And San Antonio went so far as to build an office in Guadalajara that they called San Antonio Casa. And that economic development office was so successful that they built another one in Monterey. And then in 1995 built a third one in Mexico City. And that was one of their earliest economic development forays. But they also have a sister city partnership with a city in Japan also. And so they began looking at ways that they could build some economic projects with their Japanese sister city. And so they opened an office in Japan that they called Texas Japan Office. And that effort was the impetus for the Toyota company to decide to build an enormous manufacturing facility in San Antonio, Texas. So these are just a couple of examples of how sister city partnerships, which for so long have focused on education and culture, now are doing a great deal of work in the area of economic development. And even when you think about it, things like educational exchanges and cultural exchanges, they're economic development too, when you think about it, because they bring thousands of people to your city to stay in a hotel and eat at the restaurants and purchase goods in your city. So in a lot of ways, those are economic development as well. And I'll stop there, and we can talk later about how Sister Cities International is helping cities like yours build these partnerships and also build economic development projects within the two countries.
Thank you, Ricki. It's truly amazing how you turn these cultural events, like you mentioned, the bubble tea and many others you organized, into a multi-million investments that ultimately happens. And we all can draw on this experience. So let me turn to Natalia now, because Natalia, as I introduced her, leads a digital platform to promote the development, and I welcome you to share some of the experiences of global platforms that promote regional development and cities development. Natalia, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm here today to tell you about InvestMonitor platform and to share a little about our experience, how we create a digital tool which aimed to make Ukraine's region more understandable for foreign investors. Our first step was to explore global best practices, of course. And we especially looked at digital European leaders such as Estonia and Lithuania. We studied how they how the investment agencies present their countries to the world, or what kind of information they use. And we realized something very important, that Ukraine already has most of this. We have outstanding institutions such as Kyiv School of Economics, or sorry, Kyiv School of Everything, which provides world-class analytical reports. We have Ukraine Invest team, which engage large investors. We have National Bank, which publish a huge amount of open data about investing. And then we started to ask deeper questions, such as what's difference about Ukraine and other countries? What is our unique challenge? And the biggest challenge is the question which the most common question that we hear from foreign investors. But you are at war. And yes, we are. So that's where we understand that we should create something uniquely Ukrainian, a tool which could help to move forward the conversation with the investor. And we decided to show that even in wartime, there are regions and sectors that could be attractive for investments. And the idea that Ukraine has not a single risk profile became the foundation of our product. The other secret ingredient was that we spoke directly to several foreign investors and asked them, what kind of information do you need just to think, just to consider about Ukraine as an investment direction? What is your concern beyond the war? And the answers surprised us. We realized that we know very little about how they think, and they know even less about what actually happened in Ukraine. For example, one of businessmen said that IT sector is very risky because of power outages, because of blackouts. But it's not true. Digital sector is in Ukraine is one of the strongest and the most dynamic. The others said, asked something like, "Are there any guarantees when something gets damaged, or is it easy to get out of investments, not even get into investments?" So we designed InvestMonitor to help answer directly like this, and we took investors' concerns, and we made a survey for Ukrainian businesses who work on the ground, and asked a simple question: how risky, how easy, how hard is something for you to do in Ukraine? And the results of survey we turned into a colored map of Ukraine, just to show that, visually show that some regions in Ukraine is still could be attractive for investment. We call it Invest Environmental Index, and the collecting of data is still ongoing. You can even right now pass the survey on investmonitor.com.ua. So that's not all. We combine. We combine survey-based data with the open data, governmental open data, and not hundreds of indicators. No, just few meaningful, and they show that Ukrainian business is still ongoing, and the economy could still growing.
Thank you, Natalia. I think what is important enabling factor is that level of information that the digital age is enabling for investors, is allowing to make analysis at a different level, and to show that despite the war, as you're saying, some regions are economically booming, and we see it into statistics, and it's important to make this data available to investors to be able to invest even at such risky time at the war. In the second round, I would like to ask our panelists, all of you are here at Ukraine House, and I know you're doing so much to support Ukraine through your institutions. So what particularly your organization and in your role you are doing now and you intend to do to support Ukraine, to support cooperation between Ukrainian cities. So I'll first turn to Tom, and I know how much you do and how strong position, pro-Ukrainian position you took from the day one of the Russia's invasion, and you created this platform and opened it to Ukrainian mayors.
Yeah,
so tell us.
2 weeks after the invasion, my president, Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami, 2 weeks after the invasion, we met in Miami. And we had the mayor Klitschko from Kyiv coming straight to us, a video live coming right at us, as well as your ambassador. And the United States Conference of Mayors stood in a strong press conference supporting, decrying this criminal invasion of Ukraine by the Russian government. And we took it very seriously, and through the years, for 3 years, every time we meet, we pass another resolution supporting Ukraine. And on May 13th in Warsaw, Poland, we will have a summit. My president, who is the mayor of Columbus, Ohio, Mayor Andrew Ginther, we will have Ukraine mayors in Warsaw, continuing our support. And at our meetings, we have had Ukraine mayors to come. I think it's very important to, recognize that while we're discussing a lot of technical issues here today, that I am very much into political support, bipartisan support. I think it's very important to realize how important mayors can be, because if you have a hurricane and the governor tells you to do something, they don't listen to him. But if the mayor tells you to get out of the way, you get out of the way. And so, you know, when the mayor of Philadelphia speaks, she speaks to the Delaware chicken farmer because of media and TV. And so I think it's very important to realize just how important when you have a bipartisan group of mayors like mine that will continue to press the administration and the Congress to support Ukraine. You know, we were very, very supportive of the Marshall Plan after World War II. We gave our first public service award, which is the highest award that's ever given by the first one went to General Marshall. We gave it to him, and we went to the White House, and Harry Truman, I was not there then, but Harry Truman, I've got pictures of him, Harry Truman, you know. And when we had the problem with the Berlin Wall, President Kennedy called our mayors, and we stood with Willy Brandt at the Brandenburg Gate. So there are times when we do things internationally. In 1971, the mayors of the United States called for an end to the Vietnam War. So we do pick up the trash, we do protect people, but we do get into the situation where when Nelson Mandela was in jail, we took keys to the United Nations to jails and dropped them in a big bowl, and we supported the boycotts. So we do things as a one mayor can feel afraid at home, but it's amazing, as you know, when you get 15 mayors having a few drinks and talking about what we can do together. And so together they're very strong. And I have every reason to believe that the sentiment, we met in February, our leadership meeting, and before we ended the meeting with tariffs and all these other issues, someone raised their hand and said, I just want to make sure that we stay with Ukraine. And it's very clear. So we want the war to end. We want it to be fair. So many mayors were disappointed at the White House situation. I mean, they were very upset about that. We are challenged with our president right now. We want him to be balanced. I was pleased that he said this morning he was upset with those 70 missiles that went into Kyiv last night, killing 9 people. But, you know, whatever happens, I want everyone here to know that the United States Conference of Mayors and the mayors of this nation will remain committed to Ukraine. And thank you. And when it comes time after the war to rebuild, we will be there also, like we did with Europe. And it's amazing when you go to places like Warsaw, if you've been there, and you see these beautiful buildings. Well, you need to remember that it was once rubble. It was once rubble. When you go there in the old town, if you've been there, many of you have been there, it's amazing that when you see those buildings, that there was nothing left but just gravel. And so we have to also be thinking about the future. And, you know, president comes and president go. And it changes, and different people get elected in the House and the Senate, and things, I hope, will come our way in supporting Ukraine, and we will continue to do everything we can within our organization to support this nation and this great leader and all the great people that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and for your personal unwavering support, but also bringing, you mentioned 15 mayors and they are convening power, but you have 1,500 mayors in your organization, so it goes exponentially to the convening power, and this is truly important to have you with us standing and advocating for Ukraine. Stephen, I'll turn to you, and I know you promote the initiative and cooperation with Ukraine, so maybe you can tell tell us.
Sure. Well, it's nice to follow Tom and his invoking of the Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe 77 years ago. And, if the German Marshall Fund, of which I'm a part at this point, wasn't quick to be with Ukraine after, then shame on us, because we work every day in the spirit of the original Marshall Plan to strengthen transatlantic cooperation. But in this case, we work on democracy and prosperity and security. And so this is right down kind of our lane of work that we want to do and do every day. So the organization does a lot across the organization, but I'm going to zero in on a city's kind of development piece. That was an idea. Well, we had written a document about rebuilding, even as the war had in the early days of the invasion and the war, on rebuilding in a green and sustainable way. And I know that this conference today or the last couple of days is about leapfrogging on innovation, and I think that was the same sentiment that we brought to this paper about what is it about the recovery and rebuilding that can advance things beyond what even other cities are doing with this sad opportunity of doing rebuilding from cities that have been had serious destruction. And a wonderful idea came from a wonderful federal employee who just happened to walk in the tent. And so now I feel extra pressure that I get this right, because she brought us this idea of the United States playing a very big role in helping with rebuilding in smaller Ukrainian cities that may not get the same international attention that other cities would. And so we have designed from that idea a program called the Ukraine Cities Partnership, and there are handouts inside on the table if you would like to read a little bit more, that essentially will bring a similar kind of coalition that came together for the Marshall Plan 77 years ago. Companies, nonprofit organizations, philanthropy, investors, universities. And we've now met with 160 organizations, nearly all of them interested in being part of this. But we will be selecting a strong coalition across those sectors to bring redesigning and kind of strategic thinking to a smaller city in Ukraine. And we're talking between 50 and 100,000 people. We'll do that. We're announcing that city in Rome at the Ukraine Recovery Conference. And so we're right in the period right now of selecting which city that will be. And then if the coalition holds and we can be productive with that city, everything will be done in partnership with the city. Obviously, they need to be a willing partner to work with this group. They can take what they want. They can leave behind what they don't want. The whole point here is to put, kind of wrap a big arm around them like the Marshall Plan did, both of resources, but really of technical expertise and creativity, etc., recognizing fully that Ukraine has all of this already, but are in a period where extra help can help. And we will work in 5 areas: local democracy and engagement, urban planning and development, engineering and infrastructure, financing, and finally a section devoted to capacity building and amplification of messages to other cities in Ukraine.
Thank you, Stephen. I only wish you have more resources to scale it up beyond one city.
We'll start with 1. We're planning to hopefully go to 2 and 3 in 2006.
Fantastic. We are a little bit pressured by time, so I'll invite Ricki and then Natalia, maybe up to 2 minutes to make your remarks, what you are doing on Ukraine support.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned to you all earlier, in my very first meeting in Washington, D.C., I came to Ukraine House to listen to 6 mayors from Ukraine talk about the impact of the war on them, as well as their desire to have partnerships in the United States. And so I went back to the office and we created what we call Cities Seeking Cities surveys, and sent those to a list of mayors in Ukraine and asked them to fill out a survey if they had an interest in being a sister city. And 20 mayors in Ukraine did respond to that survey, and we have been in the process of working with those mayors to build some partnerships. Our office here in D.C. Is very hands-on when it comes to helping cities build partnerships, revitalize dormant partnerships, create economic development projects, and other aspects of being a sister city partnership. We do what we call boots on the ground calls, where we get representatives of both cities on a call and help them with whatever their issue is. If they're just starting out, we help them to figure out how to do a signing and how to begin the process of building a group of people in their community that will make this partnership long-term and long-standing. So those boots on the ground calls have resulted in an 82% success rate in helping cities become members and getting their sister city partnership started. We also do what we call Sister Cities International Academy, where we will provide our SCI Academy at our summits and at our leadership meetings. So if you want to come and learn about how to form a sister city partnership or revitalize one, or you're interested in an economic development project, you can come to our leadership meeting or summit and learn how to do that there. And our state representatives have created a toolkit or multiple toolkits that are on our website for members to go and learn how to do all of these various activities involved with sister cities. And I just wanted to quickly mention that one of our board members, Javier Batia, is Ukrainian, and she is on the ground in Ukraine a good bit, providing assistance, and she can also be a tremendous resource if you are interested in building a sister city partnership. And so all of these are available to you. I've brought some information. It's on that table there. You're welcome to pick it up as well. And finally, we have also worked with the Washington Institute here in Washington, who recently did a Ukrainian trade mission here and brought mayors from Ukraine to participate in that activity. So we are spending a lot of time on a regular basis with this work.
Thank you, Ricki, for extending these partnerships, but also, as you said, putting the real boots on the ground of your presence in Ukraine. And I think these partnerships, as we all heard, are leading to economic development and building up ties and cooperation. Let me finally turn to Natalia to tell how your platform helps the Ukrainian cities and private investors to benefit. Please, Natalia, over to you.
Thank you. Communications with the investors requires two things, transparency and simplicity. In Ukraine, we have strong institution building transparency, but what about simplicity? So investors will invest only in something they understand. And that's we created InvestMonitor as a tool to present Ukraine, to engage skeptics, to find arguments, and to tell and present Ukrainian investment environment to partners. and it can help when you have a lack of time, when your partners aren't ready for full reports, and when you have just a few minutes to tell why Ukraine and where exactly. And actually, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. And with that, we will conclude our panel. Unfortunately, we are running out of time for a Q&A session, but I will ask our panelists to stay around so you can approach them and to ask bilaterally any questions you may have. Let's give a round of applause to panelists and for all the work they are doing to support Ukraine. Thank you so much.